A little bit of music playing in Uncle Roger's house tonight. It's an evening session. We already did an afternoon session. We got a video up, and we're going to be doing round 3 here. There better be some gin in this house, let me tell you. I think I saw some in here earlier today. And that bottle right there. I think I might just dig into that sucker. Okay, we are now filming. This right here, folks, is what? Okay, now this is a mouthful. Mirami-histor-Chi. Mirami-histor-Chi, episode number 3. Again, let's just say you're in Denmark or something. You're coming across, and this just pops up on your algorithm. I'm here with my Uncle Raj. We're in his basement, and we're going through and I'm going to continue to say this, Roger has documented and kept the history of our town and its surrounding area via mostly newspaper clippings, but pamphlets and brochures, etc., festivals and stuff like that, from the late 70s through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2020s, and it is done in a way that deserves credit. It's been a major hobby, and we decided we're just going to sit here and start to just show newspaper clippings. So that's what we're doing. And, I'm a little loosey-goosey right now. I'm not going to lie to you. One of the best things about getting older and hanging out with uncles and stuff like that is, and I'm not saying that drinking alcohol is a good thing, but it is fun in these kind of situations when you do it in a good way. So I'm having a gin. Raj is having just a light beer. Okay, where are we going to start with tonight? Raj is going to start with the bridge.
Yeah, a historical bridge, the Miramichi Bridge.
Just a sec. I got to back this up. There's a little bit of a glare on that. You can see through it.
Yeah, because usually mishaps occur on the bridge periodically. So if the bridge happens to be shut down for a little spell, then somebody comes up with an idea. So that would be a ferry system for the people to get across.
Okay, so what I think is happening that didn't happen before is that light. So where we're sitting, when you put them up here, you can see through them now.
Yeah.
So I think we have to move backwards because of that light. We got to move our whole. So I'm going to pause right here. Just 1 second. Okay, I think we got our technical difficulties all straightened out. Okay, so we live on a big river, and a bridge that spans it's called the Centennial Bridge. I can still see through that. I don't
This
like.
is the Morrissey Bridge.
Oh, this is the Morrissey Bridge in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Cutting away wreckage.
Yeah, so it has several mishaps down through its century that has been there. So whenever it's shut down for a little while, some guys will come up with the idea of a little ferry system to get the walking people across.
And this is July 13th, 1984. Oh, yeah, so by the way, the Mirami-histor-Chi. We are doing 1984 today. I think there's a lot of sports that's going to happen today. So, Memmer and Cook, just near Moncton and Sackville, there was a pitcher named Charlene Gautreau. And here she is in action, pitching. And that's 1984. And here she is in the same time frame, a sequence. She's a right-handed pitcher. And Roger was just setting me up. He was getting me ready. He had several pitchers. And this was the result.
Just a little higher, or they won the Canadian Championship.
Yes. So their team name was the Rookies, the Memory-Cook Rookies. Happy members of Memory-Cook Rookies mob each other after winning Canadian Junior Women's Softball Championship Sunday in Moncton. So that's cool. And, you know, we both play fast pitch softball. I am very grateful to be, actually, one of my favorite things about growing up in Logieville and in this family was the fact that I came into softball. And I'm still playing it at 47. And it's interesting because one of the coaches from Moncton, when I was a young guy, he brought teams into national championship. He won 2 national championships, one with the men's and one with women's. And I'm going to be going down. I've been in contact with him. I contacted him, asking him for mentorship in certain ways. And I'll be having a meeting with him. His name is Louis Henry. So there's a cool little softball picture. What do you got there now? Oh, here's one here. This is the Sinclair, the old Sinclair rink. I think it was called rink, not arena, right?
Yeah.
The Sinclair rink in Newcastle, in the same location as the Civic Center is right now. This was September 17th. This is when this was published, 1984. That's when it burnt down. And I remember as a kid playing hockey in Chatham, all of a sudden there was a bunch of Newcastle kids in our program because they didn't have a place to play. So I don't know how many years that lasted for. I don't know much about it. I actually do not have one memory of the Sinclair rink. I can't remember it. Even I was 8 years old. I just don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah.
What about you? Did you score any goals in the old Sinclair rink?
Oh, yeah. So back in '84 is when Logieville opened up our sewage system in the village here. It's one of the greatest things that was ever done in our community, because a lot of the several houses will be close together and the wells will be all close together. So that was a really big positive thing for our community.
Right on. And these are things like, you know, I'm a guy that I'm guilty, like, you know, when you take the fundamentals, things that are needed, sewerage being one of them, and, you know, good infrastructure, these are things that I tend to not do a very good job at taking care of myself. So I'm always recognizing when others know what the fundamentals are before you kind of get on with things. And again, folks, this, I have a note here, okay? Now, here is an example. This is, my note was on Roger's work, but, okay, so this article here, it says, who will be picked, I'm reading backwards, who will be picked
Sportsman of the Year?
Miramichi Alpine Sportsman of the Year. And there's look at these names here, like, yeah, it's hard to read upside down. Glenn Walsh, Steve Adams, Wayne King, Rick McCullum, Chris Treadwell, Mike Gaba, Paula Richard, Jamie Summers, Keith Tucker, Joey Carroll, Tom McDonald, and Brent Graffard. And those are just different little sporting events, like little athletes that were in the Miramichi area per month. But the thing that I started reading this article as Roger was sorting there earlier, and the third paragraph caught me. It said, the sports media on the river. The sports media on the river, consisting of Dave Butler, Moncton Times, Wayne Cameron, Northumberland News, Larry Flanagan, Cable TV 9, and Brian Richard, Miramichi Leader Weekend. Each month select the Sportsman of the Month. But the thing about it is how times have changed so much in like the 40 years since this paper was published. And, you know, we do not have that same sense of community following. Things have changed, and it is a very different vibe. But my point was, okay, you see that date right there? Okay, right at the top, right there. Okay, Roger has been cutting, I just noticed this when I was reading, he's cutting out the date and what page and section it is, because he doesn't include the whole article, so he's just cutting out the date and he's pasting. So this is very well documented, and once again, the Alpine Sportsman of the Year. You should have been nominated the Alpine Sportsman of the Year just for cutting out those dates.
Okay, there was a movie being put in place here on the Miramichi back in that same year called The Labor of Love. You can hold that up.
I'll
there.
hold that up. The Labor of Love.
Yeah, and there's some of the local people over here, the side here, got parts in that production. And in this next shot right here, we have a young lad right down here. That would be the young lad of Dr. Bill McGilvery, and he got a part also in that production.
I remember as a kid when that movie, you know, like we're in a small town here. We don't, like, these things don't really happen up in northern New Brunswick. So all of a sudden there was a movie production coming in, and people were excited. And as almost always is the case with most movie productions, when you're on site and you're on the set, it is not what it seems. So, you know, I remember watching that film. It was like the big premiere came out, and it was shot in the Miramichi, and we're just like, oh my God, this is not a very good movie.
Yeah. And we have the director, and we also have some more locals here. Joseph Pino played a cop in the show, and Ann Cummel was in charge with some of the financing, looking after the financing of that production.
Yeah, right on. The Labor of Love. That was 1984, the summer of '84, folks. The Miramichi newspapers were just buzzing with excitement. There was a big feature production. Okay, here's one that's going a little bit more international or national, shall we say. And this is the 1984 Hockey Hall of Fame inductees that year. We got Phil Esposito, Jacques Lemaire, Bernie Perrant, Punch Imlach, and Jake Milford. Those guys were obviously in the builder category. But if anybody, this guy right here especially, Phil Esposito, if anybody's paying attention to hockey over the last, if they're any sort of a hockey fan in Canada, they know the importance of Phil Esposito just from that 1972 series. And Jacques Lemaire is a player that he was a coach that won cups, and he was a centerman on the Canadiens that won cups, and he played a two-way game, and he is arguably one of the most underrated players in the Hall of Fame. His peers say that he could have scored 140 points if he wanted to. He was that good. And it just so happens that we're Montreal Canadian fans, and we tend to only talk about the Montreal Canadiens guys. Okay, what else you got up there?
Okay, we have
we have a phone here. Maybe Raj will answer it, and I'll just... Actually, this is a good time to just maybe pause. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, that phone call was quick and short. We're right back at you. Roger handled it. And now we are organized to talk about
1, 2, 3 pages of the history of the ferry boats on the river. That's just two of them here. I believe one, the Francis Ellick, and maybe the Romeo and Juliet.
So when you were a kid here in Logieville,
Yep.
there was there was a small ferry that went across the river,
Yep.
and this was like, when were bridges centennial? So 67.
Yeah.
Is that the first bridge across, or was there one in the Newcastle area? Morrissey, is that older?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was in 1914. I
Oh,
believe.
so that was the only bridge that crossed for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
So there was one little bridge in the western part of our city that crossed, but there was a whole span that you'd have to go a wrap around to get to places. But so ferry boats, do you remember one of them was called Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Look at that. Look at that. One of them was called, that's right there, that's called Romeo and Juliet. We had ferries across our river here. I don't remember it, but there was a small one in our little Logieville that's on the eastern part that's going into the bay, the southeastern part of the river. So you remember that one, obviously. You guys would have been kids going across, but do you remember going on any other ferries when you were a kid? Like,
Yeah.
where was the other ferry port? Like where the bridge is now? The Chatham Bridge is?
Well, even if you're going down Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, you get there's still ferries being run down towards the St. John area, down like.
Oh, sure. Like to go to Grand Manan and stuff.
There's little people living on parcels of land that they have to take a little ferry.
Oh, yeah.
To get there, even like today.
Yeah, no, like where I'm at in Vancouver, that's just, that's all over the place. There's ferries. But like, do you remember, where was the other ferry crossings on the Miramichi River though?
Oh, gosh, I don't think there was any. The further upriver you went, the river got narrower, and then we had a bridge systems up there.
Oh, right. Oh, so those ferries weren't for the Miramichi River. Those were New Brunswick ferries.
Well, these here, when they came,
oh, I see.
They were used in other areas like
oh, I see.
Hamilton, and then.
Oh, they came up the river to showcase.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They were used in other places there.
Oh, I see. Okay, I misunderstood that one. And there's no way we're going back and taking anything out as if there's going to be any editing going on. This is just a one-shot deal all the way. And speaking of one-shot deals, that was a big shot right there. Okay, so this Irish festival. So we come from a place where we are home to Canada's Irish Festival. So Roger has from 1984. This is the first brochure, the first pamphlet from the first Irish Festival, which was in, as you see, 1984. So this is when Miramichi, Chatham, were named the place in Canada to host Canada's first Irish Festival. And many people from around the country, the world really, have come here during some of the festivities over the years, and it's a really fun time, I must say.
Yeah, well,
okay.
There's not a wrinkle in it, so.
Yeah, that's vintage, folks. I'd like to see. Okay, what are we doing here? This is the June 27th, 1984 edition of the Miramichi Leader. Okay, look at how different times were, okay? So these fine young women put themselves out there to run in a beauty contest, which, times have very much so changed. And, the way carnivals and festivals were, they were a lot more traditional, and things are quite different, as we were talking about today. So this is 1984. There would have been a was this from the exhibition? Oh, this is called the Miss Newcastle pageant, 1984. Yeah. This is Welcome to Newcastle, Canada Days, June 28th to July 2nd. And for those of you that may not know, our city of Miramichi, there's two main towns that kind of amalgamated back in the 90s, Newcastle being one of them, Chatham being the other. Newcastle seems to be the one with a bigger population and stuff like that. So this is vintage. There's pictures in here.
Miss Canada be coming here.
Miss Canada. Whatever that even means, right? Like, who's Miss Canada? Anyway, that was Miss Canada back in 1984. She came here to crown Miss Newcastle. And that was just one of the things that that this little newspaper provided, but just like this is a lot of pages for one celebration. It just shows you how times have changed over the years. Okay, are you ready? You're gonna want to pause here and get ready for some more.
Yep.
Some more things. Okay, we got a couple of more bigger papers, kind of something like this. Oh, Roger's going crazy now. I didn't fold that properly. Okay, there we are. Oh, the town of Newcastle. You mentioned something about this, Raj. Just look at the way things were. Like, this is 1984. You got a bunch of local dudes dressing up in pioneer outfits just for festival times. And everybody in the community seemed to participate. I remember being a kid where my dad used to work up at the Air Force Base, and they would have these winter carnivals. Everybody was participating. There was ice sculptures and dances and smelt fries and whatever you could think of, right? And it's just, times are different. Yep. You must just, you guys have seen it change. Okay, we're back. Okay, so here's another one from 1984. The 61st Annual Miramichi Exhibition runs from August 13th to the 18th. And when I'm reading this, I'm reading it on the screen and it's backwards. So I'm doing a pretty good job of doing that. But, you know, okay, so this is the local exhibition that, you know, the county fair, if you were in America, pretty much. Roger has that's a raft, okay? See that? They used to have a raft building contest, a raft race that went down the river, and because of liability and stuff, I think they had to change that. But Roger says he has lots of documentation just on the rafts alone, so we'll look into that.
3 years, 83, 84, and 85.
Oh, wow, 3 years raft race. Okay, here's something right here. This is another beauty pageant, folks, just to show you how times have changed. Oh, how we don't put things into a category. So those fine young girls that ran in 1984 for Miss Miramichi were Joy McLaughlin, Kelly Stewart, Andrea Swayze, Shirley Assel, Claudia Allison. I'm not laughing at her. I'm just laughing at the fact that this happened. Denise Blanchard, Sheena Sturgeon, Shirley Brown, Lisa Gilks, Rose Lavoie, or Lavoie we call us, Shelley Robichaud, and Ann Tozer. There's another raft as part of the 3-year raft races. Like, it's just the boys and girls would get together, families, build a raft, race her down the river, and I'm sure it was a lot. And then a lot of things happening. And then the last photo I'll show you, and this just happens to be in this paper, but that is, okay, you see that horseshoe in mid-flight like that? What a brilliant photograph that is. But that's actually my dad. In 1984, he would have been 33 years old. The photo is quite beautiful. Like, it's a perfect photo. It shows his feet, his whole body, and he was in the horseshoe pitching contest with, I'm assuming, his older brother Raj. Eh?
That's right.
That's right. And they used to win tournaments.
And if we didn't have a ball game on the weekend, Ronnie would find a horseshoe game somewhere, and that's where we ended up.
And then the boys would be playing horseshoes. And then here's another cool photo. Like, this is like an old school tug of war at the exhibition. And Roger was, you know, as we were looking through this, he was like, I know that guy. He used to deliver the wood here.
Firewood.
And it would just be like a bunch of people putting tug of war teams in and just going for it. It was just like, you know. And like anything tug of war right now makes me think, because I'm in a tug of war myself.
So we have to show the opposite sex there in the exhibition.
Okay, so this happened. Okay, this is 1984. Thrillers putting on the Ritz. Okay. Now, this is the group of guys in the Miramichi that put themselves out there to be coined Mr. Nice Guy, or no, the Thrill of a Lifetime or something.
That's it, yeah.
I think it was called the Thrill of a Lifetime. Okay, Thomas J. Kingston, John Robichaud. And if any of you guys just happen to watch this, please laugh along with us. Bill Noel, Larry Lynch. I had him as a coach in softball. Robert Keown, Chris Wenzel, Jim Langille, Bruce Rolfe, Rod Teahan, Alan Clark, Michael Hovey, and Mark Williston. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was 1984. These guys from the Miramichi that thought they were all that and a bag of tricks took their shirts off on stage at the Miramichi exhibition. And I think Mark Wilson, that handsome fine devil right there in the top corner, I think he was the winner, if Roger remembers correctly.
I don't know who won that year. It was a week or two later before they get the stats out.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to do a timeout to get the next one ready.
Okay, we're going to take another timeout. More here. Okay, folks. Here's an issue from the Miramichi Leader, April 11th, 1984. Actually, it's my sister's birthday. So the prison expenditures $8 million to date at renews. That's when that's a maximum security prison that's on the river here. That was in the news. Here's a picture of Newcastle Town Square from 1984 with a wintry April day because there's snow. What else is in here? Chatham plans town spruce up. And there's a rendering of a drawing of the big Chatham spruce up. Well, I don't know if that goal was ever reached. Because seems like we keep losing on this side street lights and the other side keeps gaining them. Okay, here's a big article. Save-Easy plans salad bar as grocery outlets mark 25. Whatever that even means. There it is. Save-A-Z is our local grocery store. It's not called that anymore, but people on this side of the river, we still call it Save-Easy. That is the name of the... here's a couple of honor roll businesses from 1984. From 1984, what's a couple of them here? The Kingsway Restaurant, R.E. Tozer Jewelry, C.M. Dickinson and Sons Limited, that's Guardian Drugs, Siddle's Jewelry, Evelyn's Beauty Parlor, Atlantic Speedy Propane. So, yeah, folks. This is a 40-year-old, and here's one. Cassie's new building improved capabilities. This is, did they used to manufacture like Pepsi Cola out of there?
Oh,
Yeah, so they were making, like, that was a business they were making. Yeah. Now I think that place has been turned into, I think it's a marijuana dispensary type of place. So there's a few articles that were going on in and around the old Miramichi in 1984, folks, and I will put that. Community College grows, builds new center. So our local NDCC, there was an expansion on the building right there, and I wonder how many students actually go into that place in a year.
I don't know.
Okay, what do you got there? You got a weekend?
This is how we're going to close out.
Okay.
After you're done.
Okay, that's it. What do you got? Uh-oh.
Are you closing out?
Closing out.
Are we closing out?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to close out on this article here. This is a magazine here. Features this single person, almost the whole magazine. So I'm going to show you who it is. You'll see if you can guess who it is. I'll have two versions.
Looks like Trudeau to me. Is it Pierre? Pierre Trudeau. That's some pretty good artwork right there. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't get political, and I don't sit around and talk politics. Our family, to be honest with you, never has done that. We have never argued over politics. We have never. I can't. Not that I can never remember. But what I will say is that the Trudeau that's in power right now seems to me, and I'm just saying this, like I would just actually I'll rephrase that. I would actually like to ask him if I met him, what are the last 5 books he's ever read. And if you got a guy leading a bunch of people in a country, don't you think that they should be a well-read, thinking man? He doesn't seem like that to me. Now, Pierre, love him or hate him, you did know that he was a thinking man and he was a man of vision. So I don't know if what his visions were good or bad, but you can kind of see the difference. That's as political as we'll ever get on here. Okay, Raj, thanks again for contributing all this work, like all of these documents. It's really fun and interesting for me personally to go through, and I'm sure a lot of things are being revisited from you too.
Well, we're gonna take you on a little trip down the Miramichi River on all the rafts that we saved out of the local paper.
Okay, that's going to be coming into the in the near future here.
And there's a nice picture of Frank McKenna up front on the raft that he was on, with the paddle, and he also forwarded a nice article in the local paper of congratulating the people that set up the raft race on the river and thought it was a great thing to have going on our river. But anyway...
And for those of you that don't know Frank McKenna, he was a local boy that became the premier of New Brunswick, and he's a pretty sharp individual. And then later became an ambassador to the United States, so he was involved in federal politics as well, as provincial. And if you guys are wondering how I keep drinking and the content remains at the same level, well, that's why we're pausing.